Hello, Louise.
Hello, Chris.
And hi, everyone joining us on Facebook. We are here today. I'm here with Louise Bauer Davoli, and she is a former student. She came through, I think, our second school that we ever had,
Yes.
and has been teaching for us we were just talking about this is your seventh school.
Yep, my seventh cycle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I bet there's plenty of people on here who are like, hi, Louise, you're the best teacher.
Oh, I hope.
We get that a lot. So Louise is a double Aquarian, sun and moon in Aquarius,
Yes.
Pisces rising, right?
Correct.
That's right. So Louise, if you can remember 4 years ago or 4 lifetimes ago, whatever it feels like to you, when you really saw Debra Silverman and you were like, I need to take that program. Like, tell us your journey on how you made that decision and what you did.
That is so funny because, yes, so I was at the beginning of my second Saturn return. And so I knew I needed to find an astrologer. And I was just kind of doing some searching, and there was some webinar where Deborah was talking about your life purpose and Saturn. And so I'm like, I want to listen to what she has to say about Saturn. And like the rest of us, the second you hear her pitch on Saturn, her take on Saturn, her energy, the depth of her knowledge and experience, I was hooked. So I got a reading with her, and then I also, before I even did the reading, I went and looked at her website and like, oh, she does a school and she teaches, and like, maybe this is the person I need to study with. Because like a lot of us, been interested in astrology off and on throughout my life. I've had a gazillion readings from a lot of different astrologers, but I never quite settled with anybody to make a commitment in terms of going deeper with the science and learning from someone until I stumbled across Deborah. It was in the stars. Seriously, it was fated.
That's so true. That's so true. And then you jumped in and you did level 1, 2, and 3, like back to back to back, right?
I did it back to back to back. I won't get into my chart, but it's in my chart that I have now realized that I am not batshit crazy, that it is in my chart, and that enthusiasm is in my chart, that I can do freaking anything. It's not true, but I think I can, and I convince others around me that they can do it too, which we all can together.
Yes.
So anyway,
that's so good.
That's the quick version of the story of finding Deborah. So, all the years it's like always like, what's your sun sign? What's your sun sign? And then I decided I'm going to get past the sun sign thing, and we're going to go deep here.
Right, because that's where you really find the meat of it. I was talking to another Aquarian this week. It's so funny. This week is Aquarian week that I'm interviewing, and she was talking of the same thing. Like, she was like, that I'm not, and she's a double Aquarius also. Wow. I didn't even mean to do that. But she also discovered that, like, she's been fascinated like you by astrology, and how do I dive in deeper? How do I learn more? She's, wanted to have some fun with it and learn more about it. And then once you got into it, it seems like it was almost like you couldn't not help other people with it. Because that's your background, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, part of it is, it's like, again, it's in my chart. And so that's one of the beauties of studying astrology, level 1 and level 2. At a minimum, the insight that you gain about yourself in terms of the pieces fall together like a beautiful domino, elaborate path. You just flick the one domino, and then you're going to see your life kind of unfold in front of you. And you're like, these patterns, they're not random. It's not because I'm whatever, but that there's a rationale and an understanding, and having some perspective on the interconnectedness and why we do what we do and when we do it is an experience that is quite liberating.
Totally true. That's exactly right. And we were discussing that on a webinar yesterday with Deborah, and I'm hearing this as I interview people over and over. And so, now that you've had this opportunity and you've taught 6 schools, and you've had, a
lot of students,
like 100 students or more come through your class, do you have any good stories? We have all these people right now who are on this webinar or who are going to be watching this, who are thinking about, should I do it? Should I not do it? Why would I do it? So like, see if you can remember any of your student stories where, like, first class level 1, end of level 1, or end of level 2, like what you noticed in their transformation.
So great question, because one of the most valuable things about teaching and the experience of doing it online is the transformation, not only your own transformation, but being able to observe others. And this happens for the students as well. You know, they show up and they know where they're at, and then they get an idea where others are at. And there's a camaraderie that develops over the time. And I know this sounds really weird that that is a possibility in technology, but it happens and it's powerful. So, I mean, for example, like just the last go around, I had a woman come into level 1. She really was not all that interested in astrology. She signed up because her sister wanted to sign up. And so they did it together, and I had both of them in the class. And so she's like, yeah, whatever, kind of rolling her eyes. It's like, I'll listen to this, but I'm not sure I believe any of this. And then the insight, the stuff about her personality, the dynamics and the internal dialogue that went on. She gained some insight about that. She could see in her own chart why that was happening. You know, her sun sign didn't make sense to her, but when she had the information about where her moon is, what her rising sign is, where her Saturn is located, it's like click, 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 click. It all falls into place. And then guess who's signing up for level 2? And then watching her evolution and her self-confidence grow through this new awareness, and then listening to her do her level 2 reading with someone else, and no shit, I'm like crying. Just so sensitive, so intuitive, so present with another human being in their process of awareness and understanding. It's, I mean, I know this sounds dramatic, but it like rocks your world.
It's so true. I know it's almost like we've been trying so hard to really convey that. So we keep telling stories and we keep interviewing different people to really like convey that message of exactly what you said. I mean, the reward that we get as teachers, like you said, to watch her from her first class with the eye roll all the way to the end where she discovered her passion and purpose of being able to help others really see their truth. One of my favorite things is to help people feel empowered and to help them, you know, either walk out of my readings or walk out of my classes with just like, I can do this, like exactly what you started with. Like, I can do anything, you know, I mean, and that's what the understanding of your chart really gives you. And once you know your chart, it's such an deep place, then you go out and you share it with others because you just can't help yourself.
And in terms of even that piece about sharing with others, the insight that you gain about yourself, so you understand your own patterns, and then you're able to see the patterns of those individuals that you share space with. Mm-hmm. And it is so, again, liberating to recognize another's pattern, and you will seriously drop a little of the judgment around it. And there's a lightness that comes with this. And I know, to your point around how hard it is to articulate and convey an experience, because that's what it is. The 6 weeks in level 1 is an experience. And I know we use the word transformational a lot, and it's overused, and everybody talks about transformation. I'm telling you, I don't care how much therapy you've been in. I don't care how much self-awareness you've done, how much self-development you've done. There is going to be another deeper, richer layer and texture to all of this by studying your own chart up close and personal. And then, you know, another example in the story is like people who are parents, whether they're parenting small children or parenting adults, to look at their children's chart and understand that they're not responsible for all the fuck ups, because it's like we as parents think, oh my God, I made this decision and now my kid's in therapy for 10 years because I, you know, decided to divorce, or I decided to move, or I decided to whatever we decided. And then you look at their chart and you're like, shit, you got a T-square. Shit, you've got Saturn sitting on your sun. This is not my problem.
Right. That's very true. That is the guilt, the parental guilt that kind of got lifted with that, you know, of being able to understand your kids' charts and to see their dharma and to see their karma. And
Yeah,
then just to be able to parent from that perspective
exactly.
of like, oh, I see that you've got 5 planets in fire, and I see that you're really loud, and I see that you're going to create waves. And so my job is to support you when you come home from a difficult day at school where, someone got mad at you because you're a big energy, or whatever the story is. That's my son's story, and so it's just helping them through that. And then you're not making mini me's, or we're not trying to keep them in a box that isn't their box.
Right, exactly.
I
Yeah,
love that.
I love that. You get to see what someone else's box looks like. And in in understanding on a level that's really quite impactful, like on a cellular level, understanding that each of us has our own kind of box, our own story. They're all interconnected, but they're not going to be the same. And reconciling that, it's like you're going to walk around like 6 inches off the ground for the rest of your life. Just like there's going to be a lightness and letting go and putting aside responsibilities and things that you are not responsible for, and embracing it gives you enough space to put in your own basket what you are responsible for, and you'll get that information from your own chart. That it's like, knowing that, I'm a free spirit, and stop judging that. And it's okay for me to change my career 6 different times in a lifetime and have people go, now what are you doing? I mean, I can just hear it in their voices, like, what is she doing now?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
when they're eye rolling you. Right.
Yeah,
Right. And you
exactly,
get that
when they're eye-rolling me.
acceptance. Yeah. I love that. And so how have you noticed, like, because you've gone through the school and now you teach the school, the other question we get a lot of is like the material, right? And like how that really supports, or how that really helps people, not only from that understanding themselves at the deepest level, but also from like being able to be ready to read a chart at the end of level 2 and go on to level 3 and become a professional astrologer, or bring it into your business somehow.
That actually is one of the biggest gifts about the structure and the levels, because it is mind-boggling to think that when you start at the beginning, especially people who don't have much experience other than to sort of know the sun signs,
Right.
that by the end of level 2, what you're capable of doing, and it has to do with Debra's gift of taking this incredibly complex and multi-layered science and breaking it down and saying, but this is where you focus on, because people will look at their own charts and it is overwhelming. You see all those lines, you see all those planets, you're like, Jesus effing Christ, what does all this mean? But what it is you learn how to discern what's important and what isn't important, and where to focus your attention, and where and how to ask questions, because part of the chart really is around zeroing in on a particular area, or zeroing in on a particular energy, and describing and understanding the archetype. And that's what you get from the classes and the lessons, is like you gain some insight on how to laser in on content, and then ask questions that open up the space for somebody to reveal and share and have aha moments.
Right.
That's like taking a hit off the crack pipe. It's like so addicting and so fun to watch people light up and have not that I have any memories of walking to the other side, but they have those stories about, how your whole life unfolds in front of you at the end of your life. But it's like, you don't have to wait till then. You can look at your natal chart and you're going to see your life in front of you, and all those past patterns and choices and behaviors going to make sense. And you drop your own judgment about what you've done or not done, and have and understand that. And that you see that in your students, you see it with your co-group. It's like groundbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. And so I finish a lot of these things with like, although I think you've already said it, is, so what would you say to those students who are sitting on the fence right now and are like, should I do it? Should I not do it? What is that, like, that Humpty Dumpty that will have them go over the fence just to realize how impactful it can be in their life?
That's a great question. First off, that pointed fence hurts poking you in the ass, for one. So get off of it, because it's going to like leave dimples in your butt. And then the other piece of that is just reflect on your own life. What are the things that you regret? It's not the things that you've done
Right.
It's the things you haven't done. And this would be one of those things. And yeah, you're like, well, I won't regret it. Well, yeah, that's true. You may not know what you're missing out on, but I'm telling you, you're missing out. And no, I'm not one who drinks the Kool-Aid. I am a double Aquarius. The last thing I want to do is be doing anything anybody else is
She's
doing.
not a joiner.
I am not a joiner. Pisces rising. We're like, this is a group that's going to let me in. I'm not interested. So even though, I mean, and that's the other fun thing, having people join the classes and say, I'm not a group person. I really don't like that group setting. And then to have them be the ones who are the first ones in the classroom each week and like, can't wait to see everybody. And, you know, wanting to connect after the end of the class. That's the other thing. And it's like, no kidding. You might say, oh, my life is so full of friends. I don't even have time for the ones that are currently in my life. You're going to meet people here that you are going to continue on with relationships. There are people who I've had like years ago and they're still connecting with one another, still, you know, changing messages. And what the other thing is you'll get some clarity about who you want in your life and who you don't want in your life.
That's a great one too. That's exactly right. And how do I slough off what's not working for me? And how do I really embrace the parts that are?
Yeah, exactly. And you do. And you understand there's no judgment with it. I'm not judging you. I'm not judging me. We're just all evolving. And I'm getting some clarity about what I want to bring into my life and who I want to surround myself with. And that's almost like one of those things that's really challenging and difficult to articulate. But when we say it's transformational, it's transformational.
Right. You heard it here, everybody.
Yeah. Wait, I forgot how much time we had. I'm sorry. I was like,
you're all good. I love your passion. You heard it here, everybody. Louise, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. It was fun.
All right, you guys, come join us. Come to school with us and come play. You will not regret it. That's exactly the right thing you said right there. No regrets.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Ciao.